Alright, here's a post video dyno. Took this thing yesterday down to Michael's and threw it on the rollers. He cleaned up the VE table right off the bat. It was a little bit off, and we had to change the milligrams. Typically it's 0.029, and we had to zero it out because these are 100-pound injectors on a stock camshaft, so the pulse width wasn't going down low enough to give a lean enough air fuel ratio. So took him a minute or two, figured that out, got that cleaned up, made a pull. I think it made like 390, and it made a lot of torque. I forget what the torque was. We ended up having to do so many pulls on this thing. It was struggle street all day. So completely stock 6.0. It has LS6 valve springs, that is it. And it has a T4 log, Amazon log, a 3-inch exhaust, downpipe tied back into the factory exhaust. It's a 2.5 crossover with it's actually the new style VS 44 millimeter wastegate. And it's interesting because this one has no diaphragm. It looked like a piston with 2 O-rings on it or something. I hadn't seen one like that before, but it did not matter what we tried. It would not make any boost at all. So the little boost controllers I make, I made that one to give to Michael because he wanted one. And I got down there, and the first pull on just spring, I think it only made 121 kPa or something, which is nothing. 170, I think, is around 10 pounds maybe. But it wouldn't do anything. So I was like, man, this is horrible. You know, I thought that the springs that are in it are allegedly supposed to make 14 pounds of boost. And I had brought the other spring down there with me, and it was like, why don't we throw this other spring in there? And he didn't think it would do much, so we put the boost controller on there, started putting the screws to it, and we got 160, like every single pull. It was like 162, 162, 162. It didn't matter if we took the reference off the bottom of the wastegate, 162. First we teed it and took the reference to the bottom of the gate, teed it, put it on top. Typically that'll double the boost. It did nothing. So we pulled the reference off the bottom, put it on the top of the gate, and then loosened it so it would have more signal to the top of the gate to help keep it closed and nothing going to the bottom. And it still made 162. I mean, we were really getting frustrated. So I was like, come on, man. I was like, let's try that other spring. I was like, what else? We've tried everything else. Let's try it. So he's like, all right, fine. So I crawled under the truck and shoved that other spring in there. And I don't know how they're supposed to fit. It had one in it, and then it had one inside of it. So what I did is I put the second one, well, that was 3 springs total in the gate now, and it's the same diameter that was the one that was in the middle of the one. So I just crammed them all together, and I was actually able to push it and hold it by myself under. Usually I'll use a clamp because there's so much spring pressure. Michael's like, man, that ain't gonna do nothing if you're able to push it back together by hand. But we did that, and we kept the reference on the top of the gate, and boy, it pegged the map out. So it ran away from us there for a second, and he freaked out, and luckily everything stayed together. But it was scary. But it made on the runaway pull, it made like over 500 horsepower, and I think it was like 530 foot-pounds of torque. So then he was like, well, let's put that reference back to the bottom of the gate. So we put it on there, and then again, it got to a point of diminishing returns. We could only get it up to 10 pounds of boost, and it made 477 and 535 foot-pounds, but it was making over 300 foot-pounds around 2,000 RPM. So, I mean, we pulled it and we pulled it and we pulled it, and it wasn't happening. So the thing is, he's got a red 2500 just like mine, and his 6.0 was blown up in it when he bought it. So he put a 4.8 in it with a stock cam, same cam this has and everything, same turbo, same T4 log, everything. And he tied his back into the stock exhaust, and his made, on 15 pounds of boost, it made over 500 horsepower and then like 612 or 615 foot-pounds. So, I was hoping with this it would at least clear 500, and I was really hoping for over 600 foot-pounds of torque. But anyway, it made a lot down low, and driving it home, I mean, it's, as soon as you put your foot in it, I mean, as soon as you touch it, it spools and goes. So on the way down there, I topped off with fuel, and it got 12.9 miles to the gallon with my tune-up in there, and apparently it was a little bit off because he had to clean up the VE. And so I'm hoping now it should do pretty good on mileage. Again, you hardly have to touch the throttle and this thing gets going. It's what I wanted, but then you see the numbers, and it's, like I tell everybody, once you get on the dyno, it becomes a numbers chasing game, and Michael had to talk me back down. So, I was going against my own judgment. In the heat of the moment, you're like, God, I didn't even make 500 horsepower. We got to change this and we got to do that. But then you go drive it, and you're just like, man, this thing is instant torque. I'm pretty happy with it. I mean, it's exactly what I was trying to accomplish. Again, I would like more, in all honesty, but driving it did exactly what I wanted it to do. And that's kind of the problem, again, when you go to the dyno and see the numbers, and you see everybody's numbers on the internet and what they're making and all, and then you're sad because yours only made 535 foot-pounds and made over 300 or 350 at 2,000 RPM. So, it is what it is. So what I did on this one, he had told me before when I was down there to take the O2 on the driver's side. He said hang it on the frame, or plug a sensor in, plug an O2 in, hang it, zip tie it off to something under the truck, and then put the bank 1 sensor 2 in the downpipe, and then you go in HP tuners, and then you swap everything to read bank 1 sensor 2, and actually, so then it'll take it globally off of that one sensor, and then you can make it go into closed loop, and then everything will actually work. So he was showing me that last night when we put it on the scanner. He would force it into closed loop, and then you could see it, the long terms, trimming the fuel and getting it dialed in and adding or taking away fuel to get it exactly at 14.68 air fuel ratio. So the only problem is it wouldn't mind when you put everything correct in there, it would not go into closed loop. And then it finally dawned on him. He said, yeah, remember when I told you to zip tie that O2 to the frame? He said you're going to need to put it in the exhaust stream because it doesn't think it's heating up. So that's why it's not allowing it to go into closed loop. So I'm about to crawl under there and drill and weld in a O2 bung in the crossover for the bank 1 sensor 1 O2. And then I'll have closed loop. But this truck driving is incredible. I mean, it is super quiet. I mean, it is, I'm really happy with it. And then again, you know, I built this one to try to do towing. I wanted torque down low, because you look at Clifford, and yeah, it makes close to 700 wheel horsepower and over 650 foot-pounds of torque, but it's just not usable down low where you need it like this thing is. And Michael said the same thing about his 4.8. He's like, man, he's like, you know, mine makes over 500 and then over 600 foot-pounds. He said, but it don't drive nothing like this thing. He said, you know, just that instant power and torque right off the bat. I mean, it's pretty fun to drive. Now that being said, I would like to try that torque cam that I had in the white 2500 HD, and I would like to go to the latest gen 7875 with a 124 exhaust housing, and just, I mean, I really want to see what it does. I'm really curious as to what it'll do, is basically all it is. Because that torque cam, I was really impressed with that torque cam in that white 2500 HD. And I just feel that, you know, coupled with the turbo and everything, it would really be awesome. But again, you know, if I get this other O2 in, and then it gets real good fuel mileage and drives like it does, I mean, it's pretty good to drive. I mean, it cruises real well. And like I say, as soon as you touch it, that thing's in boost. It starts moving instantly. So now I will say about these turbos. So I have run into a similar problem like this before. I had a 2012 Caprice PPV that was a L77, so it's aluminum 6.0, about 10.5 to 1 compression, 823 heads, and the car intake, the LS3 intake. And I had the cast 7875 on it with the 124, and I think I had a 3.5 inch exhaust off the back, had a 3-inch crossover from the stock manifold, so the turbo was on this side on the Caprice. So I had a 3-inch crossover up to a log manifold I made, and then had the 7875 here, and then 3.5 across and then down under the car, and then had a cutout under the car, a boost reference cutout. And I was telling Michael, I said, we had the exact same problem with that setup. Well, it did not matter what I did, that thing it fought me for everything I was worth to get 9 pounds of boost out of that daggum thing. I had every spring I could find in that wastegate, and even tried the boost controller, and it started doing the same thing, where it was a diminishing return, where you got to a certain point, and if you put one more turn in it, then the boost would actually go down. And that just blows my mind how it would go down, because you're cutting off the reference to the bottom of the gate. It should go to infinity. But, you know, that's why on the Caprice I redid the crossover to 3-inch. I had the biggest exhaust pipe I could fit off of it and fit in the car, because those are very tight platforms, and had the boost cut out, and it still will not make over 9 pounds of boost. And it had a stage 2 turbo cam in it. But I don't know what I'm doing wrong with the 7875 on a 6.0 as to why. That's the second time I've encountered this, to where it just gets to that point and will not make more than 9 pounds. So short of welding the gate shut, I don't know what to do. Again, that's kind of why I want to try. I do want to try to change to the torque cam, and then would like to try the whatever the latest 7875 is. I know there's several iterations after this one, but you know, I mean, because I just want to see what it'll do, if it'll, how to make it free up where's the restriction? Where's it choking at? Is my question. So, you know, all the other trucks we've dynoed, even the 4.8, the black truck, it had this same turbo, the same AR and everything. It made 475 on 10 pounds, and he didn't have it set up to read torque, so I have no idea what the torque was on it. But, you know, that's pretty sad, you know, that it didn't even clear 500 on 10 pounds. But again, if we could get it to make boost, I know it would have made good power, but it's just there's a restriction somewhere. And, you know, I don't know if it's just because of this turbo. I know others have made over 1,000 horsepower with a 78, 75 on a 6.0, so apparently it's not this one. And I just want to know which one it is. I guess it's the billet one or something. I'm going to go do a little research on that and see if I can find out, you know, which 78, 75 they're using and able to clear 1,000 horsepower, because we couldn't even we barely got it to make over 8 pounds of boost on a stock 6.0. But yeah, like I say though, I mean, if it gets good fuel mileage and it's just, you know, instant torque like it is, I mean, you know, I'll be happy with that, because I've got the red truck, you know, and I've got, well, we won't say how many others I have, but you know, this was kind of an experiment to see if I could get the torque down low, and I did. And you know, now I'm wanting to figure out how to get more out of it, which is just human nature. But anyway, that's it for now. I'm gonna try to get the Caprice in and try to get it going so I can get it down there. It's gonna be on ethanol, because that car, I want to see 4-digit horsepower in that car. It's a 6.2 with twin turbos, and it's got a some kind of Borowski custom cam in it or something. But I really want to see that thing put down 4-digit horsepower. So that's the one that, you know, all the trucks and everything, I've been fine stopping around the 670 wheel horsepower mark and not really pushing them or whatever. But that Caprice, I'm gonna, if I gotta pin the gate shut to let them make whatever they'll make. The turbos are rated at 1100, so come hell or high water, it's gonna make all it's gonna make. And I hope it's 4 digits at the tires. And then, you know, I'm just really curious to see what it'll do on ethanol and the boost turned all the way up. That is another one that is pretty strong in instant torque. This, you know, with the small twins on that 6.2, it's pretty instant with power, kind of like this truck is. So I don't remember the ARs on those, but years ago I had a 6.2 with twin turbos, and it had smaller ARs on the exhaust, and again it choked it at 9 pounds of boost. So maybe that's just what I'm running into, is just the back pressure so much it just won't make over 9 pounds. But I forget what AR are on these turbos. I think they're .80, 83 or 84. Or I don't remember, but they're for a Camaro, an LS3 Camaro, and they're supposed to support 1100 horsepower. So I'm hoping they're sized well to do that, because again, I don't care about pinning the gate shut on that thing. I want to see it make some power. So after I get caught up a little bit more, I'm gonna bring it up here and do what I need to do to it and get it ready to take down there and swing for the fences. But that's the update on all this for now. I took his engine to Michael. He's got a machine shop in the Dyno, so he's gonna fix the crank, get the crank ready to go for this one, clean the block up and get everything ready for this one, do the heads and all. So I'm excited to see how this one does and get everything ready for it. I don't know if I showed, these are the new wheels he got for it, but anyway, that's it for now.